Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm finally experimenting with long form content, and what better way to start than with a completed sketchbook tour? So let's get into it. I wanted the first spread of my sketchbook to give off all the magical vibes possible, so I decided to use gold gouache on a dark background to ensure it stood out. I've primarily used gouache and watercolors in this sketchbook, with the occasional page of alcohol markers and some other ink. This page was inspired by all the amazing teachers I've had in my life that put in a great deal of effort to teach and make learning as fun as possible. A sketchbook is a great place to practice and hone your skills. For this page, I really just wanted to draw out different faces and break out of the same face syndrome. I love yellow, so you'll find that I've used some shade of yellow on almost every spread of this sketchbook. I made this entry as a digital birthday card for my twin best friends, incorporating their style and obsessions in subtle ways to show how they may look the same but are actually almost polar opposites. I wanted this spread to communicate a connection between two strangers, a theme I visited again later in this sketchbook in the same medium, gouache. I used some old expired gouache for the girl on the left, which is why her skin looks quite blotchy. Just some more practice here, but for this time, it's hands. This next page I drew when I was feeling particularly uninspired to draw anything, so I just drew out how I felt in the moment. That's why I love sketchbooks. Each piece can be as simple or as detailed as you want, and it truly just serves as a documentation of your life's little moments. This is one of my favorite spreads in this sketchbook. I just loved drawing out all the expressions, especially the expressions of the children. I drew this when we were staying in a coffee plantation in Yerkad, a hill station in South India. We took this trip to celebrate my 27th birthday, which explains the next page in this spread. I watched Devil Wears Prada and started wondering what an Indian Miranda Priestley would look like, thus inspiring the page. It was fitting that it was next to a page of florals. Groundbreaking, I know. My husband and I make paneer rolls for dinner quite often. I just bought a new fountain pen and I couldn't wait to try it out. So while my husband was whipping this up in the kitchen, I whipped this up in my sketchbook and realized that I really love drawing food. This little illustration was created as I was figuring out the different ways I could use my fountain pen to create a variety of strokes. Wasn't thrilled with the cat, but loved how the old man and the foliage around him turned out. For this illustration, I really tried to use my fountain pen like a pencil and incorporate different shading techniques like cross-hatching and hatching to create light and shadows and not rely completely on my watercolors. I love how this turned out. Every time I look at it, I'm reminded to smile wide and just enjoy everything that's happening right now. I drew this out for my mother's birthday. She's an artist herself and used to take me with her to all her painting classes. I'm sure that's the reason I love painting so much today and even decided to take it on as a full-time career. Remember I told you I discovered that I loved painting food? I drew out another dish my husband and I make a lot for dinner, and this time it was pesto pasta. I started running a lot this past year, so I had to document some of those runs in my sketchbook. A lot of the illustrations in here have been inspired by things I've seen while running, so it's definitely helped me a lot with art, among other things. Back to the theme of two strangers connecting, I used fresh, non-expired gouache for this one and actually really liked how it turned out. I like the pink one a little more because I feel like I really understood these paints better while painting this illustration. saw two middle-aged ladies really having the time of their lives, catching up and laughing while on one of my runs, and the visuals stuck in my head. So when I sat down to draw later that day, this was the first thing that popped in and I just had to draw it. I love how their expressions turned out. This was the first attempt at using color pencils the way they're supposed to be used, and I absolutely fell in love with the medium. This is a lyric of a song by the band Codaline. I painted it when I got a bunch of mean comments on Instagram to remind myself to never let pressure and hate ruin the fun of creating. One of my favorite things to do is imagine what the lives of my grandparents was like when they were young. My grandfather used to own a moped, and I drew out what it would have been like if my grandmother was allowed to use it. On this page, I just recycled some gorgeous packaging material from a shawl I ordered online because I didn't have it in my heart to throw it away. My head is usually buzzing with possibilities and ideas for me to draw out, so this was a visual representation of what I feel like when I'm going about my day. I made this for my father's birthday, a very special childhood memory of my sister and I dressing him up every evening after he came back from work. I was listening to an old Hindi song called Suno Suno Miss Chatterjee, which inspired this illustration of a Bengali woman with a big red bindi who will not take anybody's nonsense. My parents celebrated their 33rd anniversary together this year, and I made this to celebrate all the love they've shared over the years, setting a wonderful example of partnership and companionship for my sister and me to follow. We did a family trip to Kabini where we went on a jungle safari. We didn't see too many animals, but being surrounded by so much nature was so inspiring. It forced me to step out of my comfort zone and paint this in a way I didn't think I had the skills to. Painted this for my 2nd anniversary with my husband. We love doing grocery runs together where he's usually the one focusing on buying all the healthy food and I'm the one sneaking in chips, noodles and other fun stuff. This was really to just capture how much joy we shared in the little moments and for me to look back and remember these fun early days of marriage later when we're both old and grey. I'm really excited about summer approaching. Swimming is one of my favorite activities and pigs are some of the cutest animals to exist. So I just paired the two together and created my perfect summer illustration. An experiment to try out a brush pen I bought ages ago led to this. I drew without a pencil sketch for the first time and it was so scary but also so liberating. I was more intentional with every stroke I put down since I knew I couldn't erase a mistake, and in general it made me more aware of the entire creation process. And finally, the last page of this sketchbook, where I used a glass dip pen and shimmer ink for the first time. I wanted to bring in similar elements from the first spread to end the sketchbook just to make it feel like a full circle. This was an infinity card I made in December 2023 of a set of Carnatic musicians performing, and I just wanted to keep it as part of this sketchbook since it was done in the same time frame. Another sketchbook down, and I love doing these tours because I can look back and see how much I've grown as an artist, but also see all the areas I need to focus on to improve further. I'm looking forward to starting a new sketchbook in the coming days and just starting this process all over again. If you liked this video,